Most songwriters ignore this key songwriting structure, yet it's one of the most powerful tools you can use to write impactful storytelling songs that listeners just can't get enough of. And this structure is the secret that can take your songs from good to great. And in this video I'm going to share with you why it's been so forgotten, what the songwriting structure is, and how you can implement it into your songwriting to take your songs to a whole new level. Hey, Danny here from Songwriters International. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We help songwriters develop their craft by sharing tips, tricks and techniques on all things songwriting so you can go and write your best possible songs. So what exactly is this forgotten songwriting structure? It's called folk form, otherwise known as folk song structure. But don't let the name fool you, it's not just for folk music. Now this structure is all about its storytelling and crafting a narrative in your song that attracts listeners in and keeps them there from start right until the end. Now folk songs traditionally follow a very simple structure that is very powerful when it comes to its story and its lyrics. And you find verses are at the heart of the folk structure. Each verse builds on one another and they don't have a chorus in this particular structure. Just a repeating theme or a simple motif at the end of each verse line that continues to loop back. And this allows you to tell a story that is raw, is honest and true, and allows the lyric to breathe, and it's not focused on a hook and having a catchy repetitive part of your song. Now you may be asking, why has this structure been so forgotten when it's so powerful? Well, in today's pop-driven music industry, catchy hooks and repetition have become the normal in a world where the average skip time is now 7 seconds on a song. We're often told we need to write songs that have great impact in the first few seconds to keep the listener there. And that if we don't, then the listener is going to go on to the next song. And in a world where there's 60,000 songs uploaded every single day for listeners to consume, again, that's another reason why it's been so forgotten. And don't get me wrong, catchy hooks and repetition and earworms all have a place in the songwriting process. But in this world where it's so hook focused and chorus driven, we've kind of lost touch with the soul of songwriting, which is the story. And that's exactly what the folk structure is designed to do. The heart of the song is the story, unfolding a narrative and allowing your song to evolve at every single turn of each verse. So let's dive into this to how it can take your songs from good to great. Now it's been used in many classic songs, but to give you some examples, Bob Dylan's The Times They Are Changing or Johnny Cash Folsom Prison Blues, those songs rely on the storytelling elements, which is exactly what folk song structure helps you achieve. Let's take a deeper look at Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash, which is one of my favourite songs of all time. Now this song has 4 verses and has no choruses whatsoever. Verse 1 talks of the hearing of the train and life behind prison walls, as you can see from the lyrics. As it says here, I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. So it sets the scene very, very well in that first opening verse. Verse 2 does a really good job of then telling the listener why the person is in prison and their action which has ultimately landed them to be there. It talks about his mama saying to never hold a gun, but that he shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. And then verse 3 is the other side, the freedom that other people experience and that he is craving from prison. I bet there's rich folk eating in a fancy dining bar, probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. And then verse 4, the feeling of one day actually being free and the dream that he has whilst being stuck at Folsom Prison, with lyrics like, if they freed me from this prison, if this railroad was mine, I bet I'd move it on a little further down the line. Which is implying to the listener how much he wants to get out of this place, but ultimately his actions have landed him there and there's no chance of that. This is the great example of a folk song structure and how Johnny Cash has used it incredibly well to tell a story and continually evolve the song at each section. So how can you implement this into your own songwriting? Well, the first step is to identify the story. What is your story actually going to be about? Is it about a prison called Folsom Prison? Is it about traveling the world? Is it about meeting the love of your life? Actually identify the core element. What is it that's at the heart of your song that you're going to write? Because that's ultimately what you need to find out first before you do anything. And think about, what do you want the listener to actually feel or understand by the time they get to the end of the song? And whatever you answer yourself in that moment is what's going to be the heart of your song. And as I've mentioned, the story is the heart of the song when it comes to folk structure. So you really have to sit down with this and really give it some careful consideration. You can't just throw this together. You want want to ideally create a song theme. Now your song doesn't need a chorus, but it does need a central point, a central idea that it keeps looping back to. If we take the Johnny Cash example with Folsom Prison, it's all centered around a train and travelling, and it's all centered around prison, and that's the constant theme that we keep coming back to. And then from there, step 3, we're going to go and write our verses. But what you must really understand is that each verse is designed to build onto the next one. The Johnny Cash track is a great example of that. Your verse 2 is going to evolve from verse 1. It's going to tell the new part of the story. So is then your verse 3 and verse 4 and so on. And you're going to have somewhere between 4 to 6 verses within your folk form structure. And the most important part of this is making sure that the listener feels like they have gone on a journey with you from start right through to the end of that track. So let me share with you a quick example that I've put together for this video of how we can actually plan out our song and get clear on a storyline. So for this example, the song is about a person leaving home and chasing their dream. So verse 1 might talk about the departure, the feeling of leaving the familiar behind. Verse 2 could focus on the struggles that they face on that journey. Verse 3 might reveal the realization or change that happens when they reach the destination and how they feel better for it, or even on the other side, how leaving home and chasing the dreams was never the right idea. And then verse 4, we could do a full 360 and go the other way around, in that we are now going back home, back to familiar territory, and that's ultimately all we need in life. And if we were to then write lyrics around that, we've got a clear theme of what the story is about, and we know what each section of the song is going to actually deliver. So when we are writing lyrics for a verse 1 or a verse 2 or verse 3, we know exactly what we need to say now. For example, you might open up verse 1 with "I'm closing the door, I'm chasing my dreams," with the feeling of heartache falling at my feet. That creates great imagery, it sets a scene, and now we can progress the lyric from there. And folk form is one of those structures that can literally transform your lyrical writing skills overnight. If you plan out your theme and you get clear on what you're going to say, you go about saying it, it will literally transform the whole game for you. So now you know what folk form is. The most important part of it is the story and the lyrics, and I've done a video on lyrics in particular, the techniques that I use when I actually go to write a folk song. What are the best ways to write lyrics so you can captivate your listeners, but you can also make sure you tell them the lyric in a way that doesn't confuse them? And that is the true art of folk song structure. So somewhere around this video, you'll see a video that I've put together on how to do that, my lyrical craft, and how I transform my lyrics. So go ahead, click the video somewhere around here, go and watch that. I'll literally walk you through the A to Z process so that you can put folk form together with great lyrics and write great songs that nobody else is doing right now.